Welcome to UC Summit. My name's David Dungay. Today I have with me Laura Marks from Poly, Michael Sharp from Log Me In, and Jesper Koch from EPOS. Welcome to the show, everyone. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, today we're going to be talking about working from home technology, what that means, and what that means for the future of this hybrid sort of working environment we're all going to find ourselves in, or already found ourselves in, I should say. So, first of all, let's do a few introductions. Jesper, do you want to kick us off? Tell us who you are and a little bit about the business you work for.
Well, my name is Jesper Koch, and I'm the Vice President of R&D at EPOS. And we are in the headset business. So we will make sure that people communicate to each other while they're working from home these days.
Excellent. Laura, tell us a little bit about yourself and Poly.
Sure. So my name is Laura Marks. I'm the Vice President of Product and Alliances Marketing at Poly. Poly is the coming together of two great companies, Polycom and Plantronics. And we have a portfolio of solutions for inside the office and for outside the office so that people can work and look and sound good wherever they are.
Excellent. And last but not least, Mike.
I'm Mike Sharp, Chief Product Officer for the Unified Communications and Collaboration Group at Log Me In. Log Me In addition to products like GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, some of these collaboration products that are really critical today, also has products in the portfolio around security, products like LastPass, as well as products around remote support and facilitating this distributed workforce.
Okay, excellent. So, welcome everyone. First of all, I really want to get to the crux of working from home technology. Let's define by what do we mean by working from home technology. What does that mean to you, Laura? Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Work from home technology to me is anything that we use so that we can do our job in the best way possible. So whether it's using a service like a GoToMeeting and then attaching all of the devices that you need to look and sound great and make sure that I can be seen and be heard wherever I am, if I'm at home, if I'm in the car, or if I'm, in a coffee shop in the days where we go back to coffee shops.
Yeah. Okay. Jesper, tell us what does work from home technology mean to yourself?
Well, it means that you can communicate seamlessly no matter where you are. I think the hybrid worker is really a term which is new to the business. So you need to be able to have a very professional communication or conversation, no matter if you are in the airport or in the office or working from home. And the technologies need to be able to support you in that process of having meetings and conversations with business partners.
Yeah. Okay. And Mike, obviously you're the third part of this puzzle, Mike, in the work from home setup. Tell us what does that mean to you?
I think the key word there is work. And regardless of where we're at, we still got a bunch of stuff we got to get done. There's needs that our customers have. There's needs that our organizations have. Stuff has to get done. Sometimes think of it like a three-layer cake. There's on top, there's the endpoints that we interface with, headsets and cameras and those types of things that enable. In the middle are the services that we connect to that support collaboration like this. We're all talking together. We're all doing this even though we're spread across the world. And then at the bottom, there's the internet connection. There's just the connectivity that powers all of it. And I think, as we think about work from home and as organizations think about work from home, we really have to be thinking about all of those layers and making sure that they're all working together.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so 2020, it's been a strange year for everyone involved. We've had a global pandemic. Clearly, we've all had to get home, do a bit of remote working or work from other places, whatever that means for you and your businesses. Let's talk about some of those challenges businesses have had to overcome, particularly this year, and in terms of getting their workforce set up remotely. Mike, let's stay with you. Talk to me about some of those challenges you've really sort of come up against over the last 12 months.
I think what we're hearing from our customers is that it's a transition. And initially with the pandemic, everyone went home so quickly. And there wasn't necessarily as much preparation as businesses would have liked to have for what is a pretty seismic shift in terms of where I work and how I work. And so it was mostly make do. So we had a lot of people using webcams on their laptops and using whatever headphones they happen to have lying around the home. And internet connections weren't great, and routers weren't great. And there were compromises that businesses had to make in terms of security and access. I think as 2020 has evolved, we've seen businesses, our customers really be in a position to step up their game in terms of enabling their remote workforce with the right tools. We're now talking more dedicated hardware, with the right services, with the right remote support and asset management, and even things like the things your IT help desk used to do in the office now have to be done remotely. So we've seen this evolution as we move from this kind of hair on fire, how do we just get it so people can be in conversations, to how do we really think about what it means to enable long-term hybrid or remote work.
Yeah, it certainly feels like we're in a bit more of an optimization phase, if you like. We've all got there. It's how do we make it better? So, Laura, tell me from your side, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced over the last year that you're hearing about your customers experiencing in terms of setting these people up remotely? What are you experiencing on that front?
Sure, absolutely. So I agree with what Mike said, and just to expand on it a little bit, as he said, I mean, when people were running home to work, I mean, they were grabbing everything they could from the office, whether it was a chair or a monitor or a headset or whatnot, or just grabbing things that they had, anything to stay connected and to work. And then really facing some major challenges around creating some personal space for working once they were home, right? Our houses are full of children doing remote school and spouses and animals and all of these distractions and other things that really could potentially compromise your work setting. And yet work had to go on. And so how did and how do people really within their own home environments create that space that they need? And so finding that right technology that can give you that little oasis even in the midst of what could be chaos is what people are really starting to navigate and figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, but I mean, EPOS, clearly audio specialists, what kind of challenges were you seeing with audio and conferencing? I guess it's the one piece of that puzzle, if you like, that can't really go down. You can't really have a conference call if you can't hear anyone.
No, that's I can only echo what both Mike and Laura is saying here. I think for our side, we just completed a big study on user behavior as a part of the pandemic, and it turned out that 88% of the global workforce has worked from home over the last 6 months. 88%, that's really a lot. And 50% of those, they are using as Laura said, the headset they just grabbed before they left office. And that is not necessarily a professional device. The problem is when you start working from home, then you're moving the meeting room outside the meeting room. It's just like if you go into a meeting and we need to have a professional talk, then we go into an environment where we are both in the same atmosphere and we are in a closed environment acoustically. But when you have a meeting abroad and with a hybrid worker being flexible at wherever he wants to talk, whenever meet wherever he or she is, then you're moving the meeting room outside the meeting room, and then suddenly both parties will be in different environments, and that puts a huge challenge for the technology to cope with that. Because in the background there might be a dog barking, or one of your childs are screaming, or the neighbor is cutting the lawn, or if you're in the airport. So it's very different technologies to make sure that the professional conversation can be transmitted. So you need to be able to pick up only your own voice or the person who's using the headset, and then filter out everything else in order to have this very secure and professional conversation. On the other end, you can say that you also need to be able to focus when you have a conversation. So if you have a conversation in a very noisy environment, you need to be able to filter out all the background noise, so you can only receive the information in the conversation which is important for you. So when you talk about transmitting and receiving information in a conversation, moving out of a meeting room is just put a tremendous challenging to the technologies, because suddenly we don't know in which environment the individual are. And that is just from a technological point of view, an extremely interesting view on this new way of working.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm interested actually to ask you all this year if someone could design, a proof of concept, on getting people to work remotely. Not in your wildest dreams would we've been able to get this many people into a remote environment and measure all the data points that have come off the back of that. I'm really interested in how that is impacting your various development cycles and the products you're bringing to market. I mean, yes, but let's start with you as we were talking about audio. I mean, what kind of things are EPOS doing this year off the back of all this information that we're now all in touch with?
Well, we have categorized our products into 3 segments. We have the meeting room to cater the meeting rooms, which is still very important that you can collaborate and communicate in a professional meeting room. But we also need to be make sure that the person who is working at the desk in the call center, which is more stationary in the open environment in the office, is also taken care of. And then the third segment that we have is the flexible worker. It is the worker that takes the headset on in the office, uses while he or she is in transit, and then also use it at home for professional meetings. And these 3 product segments has very different technologies to support the different user behavior that's which in these segments.
Yeah. So, Mike, let's come to you next. I mean, what's happening on your front? What's happening with LogMe in terms of the development cycle this year? We've got access to a lot of information. How's that driving your proposition forward?
Great question. One of the things we're seeing is that increasingly it's unacceptable to have fragmentation in the technology stack. So people start to get really irritated if they have to go to one tool for chat and one tool for voice and one for meetings and one for messaging and all of these different things. And it just spreads out all of our content. It takes all of the assets that we're creating, those artifacts that we create in the course of these conversations, and just spreads into the 4 winds. It's tough for IT, it's expensive, it's not great for end users. So a big thing we've done in response is really look at how do we bring together the different products, these different communication modalities or methods into one place. So how do we bring together web conferencing and webinars and a telephone system replacement and your business SMS and MMS with chat and everything else behind a single pane of glass with universal fuzzy search, universal activity feed across all those different communication types. We shipped that. It's continuing to improve and evolve, but it's been pretty exciting to see how that's been adopted as everyone is now more focused on these tools that enable remote collaboration. And the pressure's been raised a little bit on all those tools needing to play nicely together.
Yeah. Okay. And Laura, sorry, I should have referred to Polly as also an audio specialist, not just.
I did notice that. No, just that's good.
So
No.
You mentioned, look, we're all having these struggles in our homes, with postmen, with children, with space generally. Now, how's that impacted, Polly, and what you're doing this year?
Sure. I mean, the demand for high quality audio and video devices for the personal space has just never been higher and more intense. And the criticality of having the right webcams and the right audio devices, whether it's a wearable or whether it's something, like a new personal speakerphone, and having them available and having choice. I think what people have realized is that people have a lot of different preferences, right? What's comfortable for me might not be comfortable for you, whether it's an over the ear or an in the ear or a to ear or, whatever it is, people want choice, right? It's like anything that is, whether I pick watch A or watch B or mobile phone A or B. And so I think the demand for having it immediately and having the choice to pick what works best for my personal style and given what I have in my environment, and whether I need an active noise cancellation or if I need something that's going to be wired or wireless. Just really having those choices are what it's all about, and of course being able to get it when I need it quickly, right? I don't necessarily want to wait for IT to send me one. I want to be able to go and buy it myself and get it into my hands. So really meeting those needs of not only the product itself but also different paths of purchase is what we've been very, very focused on.
Interesting. I mean, are you seeing businesses embrace that personalization? I know some are. I know the business I work for does entirely. But a lot of companies have been in that groove. You come and join us, there's your standard issue laptop, there's your standard issue smartphone. That's it. Are you seeing business adopt to this? Right, Bill needs this kind of setup, but Jane needs this kind of setup. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely, yes. 100%. Because, as I mentioned, I mean, this is a new device. A lot of people want this, right? But it might not work for everybody's environment. And, if IT is going to say this is the only thing you get, that might not work for me. So absolutely giving your employees choice, I think, is absolutely top of mind for IT. For pretty much every customer that we have is completely dedicated to that.
Excellent. Okay.
So actually, can I say something to that?
Of course, go.
Because I can completely echo that. The study that I referred to earlier, we just learned that before the pandemic, it was only 40 to 50% of the leading managers in the business that saw audio as essential for their success. Today, we are up to 83%, which is actually now communicating and is willing to invest in new technology. And actually, more than 60% of those, they call it essential for them to actually be successful in their business. So there has been a culture change in the industry from justifying, at least for some countries and some cultures and some organizations, that need to justify that you can work from home. And now it is more like a new normal for the industry. So it's very interesting what's going on, also from a cultural perspective.
Yeah. So the new normal you mentioned there, Jesper. We've heard that phrase a lot over the last 6 months. It is a new normal. The work from home environment or the hybrid working environment, whatever you refer to it as, is feels like it's here to stay. Let's look ahead now. Over the next 12 months. I don't think anyone here's got a crystal ball who can precisely tell us what's going to happen with the global pandemic. Hopefully, we see the back of that pretty soon. But what do you think we'll be left with, Mike? Let's start with you in terms of those work from home environments. How are they going to evolve?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, meeting fatigue is real. Some recent data came out around looking at the amount of hours that people are working, and yet not seeing any corresponding increases in productivity. So we're not getting as much value, and adjusting to this and the conflicts and the kids at home, as Laura mentioned earlier, it can all make it kind of tricky. I think one of the things we'll see over the coming 12 months is how we adjust to that. How do we bring in tools and capabilities and, frankly, cultural best practices that allow us to get back to the level of effort, get back to the work time spent that we saw previously, while maintaining that productivity and that effectiveness across our teams? And I think that's a real challenge. Technology has a part to play. I love what Laura and Jesper are saying in terms of making sure that the devices that we're using don't get in the way, that we don't have audio problems or video problems because we're using a device that's not the right device for the use case that we have. That services layer, those application layers have a place to play as well, or a part to play as well. As we think about how can we take the insights and action items from a meeting, how can we automatically identify those via machine learning and AI, surface those in the right way, publish those, share those with the right group of people, so that every time when a group of people gets back together, they have the context and the content that they need to be productive. And I think that's the next, from a services standpoint, that's the next big exciting thing. How can we move beyond just this kind of pipe, this dumb pipe of audio and video, which it's kind of magical that it even works, right? It's kind of magical that when we needed it to work remotely, it was there for us. But how can we move past that to add more value that actually helps people to collaborate and communicate more effectively than just the dumb pipe ever could?
Absolutely, Laura. What's your take on the next 12 months? And how these environments might evolve.
Yeah, I think it hopefully includes a move back to the office in some way, but with a perfect understanding that work can be done anywhere, and anywhere means at home or in between, or at in a personal space in the office, or in some new instantiation of what a conference room needs to look like and function. But it's an acknowledgement that we can be productive. And Mike, I love what you said in terms of hours doesn't necessarily equal output, but that we can, because we do have these great technologies. We can be productive wherever we are, and we will start to move out of our home chairs and kitchen tables and start to move back into new spaces that are open and allow for new types and kind of return to collaboration in sort of modified ways, but familiar ways that we used to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's clearly a technology question. I think also going to see a big cultural shift, a mindset shift from businesses on how do we make this happen? How do we get the most out of our staff? So, I mean, Jasper, why don't you leave us with your final comment? What do you feel you're going to see from the work from home environment? What's going to be important over the next 12 months?
Well, first of all, I think both Mike and Laura have some really good points there, and I agree with them. What I think the next 12 months, there's a short time frame and a longer time frame. The next 12 months, I think that we will see a lot of focus on people's well-being. Mike touched upon that. How do people work from home? The offices, the management style probably need to be adjusted a little bit. Compared to if you have every people around you. So that is something that we will see in the future. We in the study that we did recently, we saw that you're absolutely right, Mike. Sorry, that was Laura. People wants to go back in the office actually, but not completely to the same level as before. Most people, they would like maybe to have 1 or 2 days at home per week. So they would like to continue to have the flexibility and to be able to focus. So I will probably predict that over the next 12 months, we will see a movement towards more well-being, a new management style in the big organizations. And if we look a little further ahead, then we can talk about, I think it was you, Mike, talking about the AI and the deep neural network. We can see something new picking up with the 5G in the cloud. We can see voice activation or voice management of your devices. So we can only see that the technology that we have ahead of us can only support that direction going forward. So I think that if we look more than 1 or 2 years ahead, we will see a completely different way of working globally than we have seen if we look back.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. It's well-being, and particularly, is going to be a huge topic of discussion this year. We are all at home for the most part, but we are also sociable creatures as human beings. We do need that physical contact. I think for at least at some stage in our working week. So that's great. Thank you so much. Look, I'd like to say thank you to you all for coming along and contributing to today's conversation. I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching UC Summit. See you next time.